The ANC will conclude its NEC meeting today. The party's highest decision-making body is taking stock of issues affecting the party and the country. Yesterday, several issues came under discussion, including the upcoming G20 Summit, economic status of the country, to the refugees from Palestine who landed into the country a few days ago. Let's listen in.
As usual, all the discussions and decisions of the National Executive Committee meeting. But just to give you a rundown of where we are right now, we are currently at the end of our meeting, which we would have started on Friday with the political input from the President, who would have then given us an update on key issues in the environment, including, of course, the state of preparations for the upcoming G20 Summit that will be coming up this week, as well as all other issues, political and governance, domestically as well as internationally. We would have then received the NWC report, which would have dealt with all of the organizational matters, as I did state, which will then be communicated tomorrow by the SG. As well as a discussion that we would have had on the national dialogue processes and our participation therein as the ANC. We would have also received a report from the Integrity Committee, as indicated by the SG on Friday, on the matter of the Premier of the Free State. The outcomes of that will also be communicated tomorrow. And currently what is happening right now is the filling of 2 vacancies in the National Working Committee of the ANC. Voting has just concluded, and after the voting, the Electoral Committee, which is led by former President Kgalema Motlanthe, will then make the announcement of the 2 members of the National Executive Committee who would have been elected to fill the 2 vacancies in the NWC, arising from the passing on of Comrade Tina Chomat-Peterson, who was a member of the National Working Committee, who unfortunately left us a year ago, as well as Comrade Peggy Nkonyeni, who would have also been a member of the NWC and who has since resigned from the NWC due to ill health. So the NEC is currently voting to fill those 2 vacancies, and that after that an announcement will be made, and then the meeting will then officially close. So that is the brief that we wanted to give members of the media, and if there are, of course, any questions, we'd be happy to take those. Samkele and then Muloko.
Samkele myself from the SABC. What is the main reason of the closing address of the President no longer being open? There's been reports of reported that he's at the departure lounge politically. It may be some of those issues where we think Kuchane Chauke was the political advisor to the President, speaking out that there is no such, speaking on those particular matters. There have also been allegations that political machinations are underway, caucuses being held Friday evening by certain top 6 officials that may be planning for the future away from President Ramaphosa. Then lastly, on the G20 Summit, he gave an update, particularly noting that he'll be handing over the G20 presidency to an NT chair. Thank you.
Okay, let me start with the G20. Yes, he did give us an update on the G20 state of preparations, and that the Minister of Durko, who is the chair of the IMC, will be speaking to the media around that tomorrow. So we wouldn't want to steal his thunder, but the President has given us an indication that it's all systems go. He has been able to speak to most of the heads of states who will be arriving in the next coming days. And of course, and I think that the actual detailed briefing will be given by the Minister of Doko. He has indicated that he will be speaking to the media tomorrow from Nasrec. On the question of a departure lounge, I'm not sure what departure lounge that is, but as far as we are concerned, there is no departure lounge in the National Executive Committee. This National Executive Committee, with its president, was elected in December 2022. Our term ends in December 2027, and our term will end with President Cyril Ramaphosa as the president of the ANC, where he will then be handing over, if he doesn't, of course, decide to stand for a 3rd term. That was that in jest. That was a joke. But to answer your question, there is no departure lounge. launch. President Ramaphosa is the president of the ANC, and that his term ends in 2027 in the ANC, and that whatever other rumors that are there, we cannot speak to or verify for any other reason. On your question around the reasons, I have indicated that it was a decision of the NEC that, remember, the decision to have the closing remarks open and closed is really something that is decided by the leadership of the ANC to say that there are issues that we feel that we should communicate publicly, and sometimes there are issues that we communicate after the meeting. It's really just one of those. There's no other reason other than that. Thank you, Samkelo.
All right, from ANC. The Secretary General, Mr. Maluka, did say a day or two ago, maybe it was the day before yesterday, that they are going to be demanding a report from those who are in town in regard to the arrival of the so-called refugees from Palestine.
Yes.
What has been the reporting in regard to that? Do we know as to who those people are? But do we also know whether there will be more who will be coming? And what is a program in place to deal with a possible influx? Because that certainly is a concern among South Africans, at least on social media.
Yes, the matter was discussed by the NEC, and as indicated, it will form part of the NEC statement, as insofar as what the discussions were. But just to state that we will be having the chair of the IR subcommittee, who is the DSG, speaking on the matter. We did have a meeting with the IR subcommittee yesterday, with the Peace and Stability subcommittee as well. As you would know, that it's not just an IR issue, but it's also a peace and stability issue. So those two committee meetings did meet yesterday. We are going to be having another meeting, and following the finalization of the meeting of those two particular committees, the DSG will then be made available to speak to the media as the chair of that particular subcommittee. We're hoping that it will happen within the next 2 days.
The official position of the party will, or could be made in the next couple of days.
So let me just clarify myself. We would have, of course, received the report that's currently in the public domain, and that is the reports that we would have seen from the BMA as well as the Department of Home Affairs with regards to the landing of the plane. We had a meeting yesterday, as I indicated, between the subcommittee of IR as well as the subcommittee of Peace and Stability, particularly looking at the issues as Moluko raised around the landing of the plane, where it was coming from, who paid for it, and all of the other questions that South Africans have been asking online. And once we would have concluded, firstly, the discussions around those, but also having received the report, remember this is a government issue, so we will need our government to then tell us once it is ready, and then once we would have then received that report from government, we have spoken to the DSG, who will then speak to the media on that particular issue specifically. And we're hoping that that will happen within the next 2 days, because obviously we understand that from Wednesday, the media's focus will obviously be most probably on the G20 going forward. Thank you very much. If there's no one else, we would really just want to again reiterate our profuse apologies for the closing of, our profuse apologies for having communicated that we would be receiving the closing remarks live. But as we did indicate that tomorrow we will have the SG giving the post-NEC media briefing, and in that particular media briefing, all NEC decisions will then be communicated, including decisions around key organizational processes and where we are in terms of the renewal agenda of the ANC, the state of rebuilding, and most importantly, our state of readiness for our National General Council, which is...
That is the ANC NEC member, Nonqeba Mhlawuli, giving an update of what is currently transpiring behind those closed doors, where the ANC's NEC meeting is currently underway. They're currently voting on filling vacancies in the NWC, the National Working Committee, that had been created due to the resignation of a member. But more importantly, giving us a sense of what had been discussed and the various meetings and subcommittee meetings that have taken place, particularly pertaining to the country's preparation and hosting of the G20, where the Minister of International Relations, who is also a member of the subcommittee, was giving the NEC an update on the state of readiness. And we then got the update there from Nonqeba that it will be the Secretary General, Fikile Mbalula, who will be giving a media update tomorrow following the closure of the NEC, and no longer the President giving that statement today. We'll, of course, bring you live coverage of that as it unfolds.